the government of India also, of late, they have developed centers of excellence, tying up MOU with Israel. Like there are centers of excellence in Gurgaon, in many states. They are doing very good work in horticulture, etc. Very recently, AP government is also developing a center of excellence. I left AP government 2 years back. That time, one center of excellence was coming up in AP, in near Krishna district. I think Telangana government also is developing this center of excellence. So we have been implementing. In fact, the origin of this drip system today, every farmer is talking is only the Israeli technology. But the problem in our implementation, though the ideas are very bright, in implementation lot of problems are there. The farmers are not trained properly how to use. So they are using, and they are exploiting water from very deep areas. Lot of salts are there. They are not treating water. They are directly pumping into drip system. The nozzles get clogged, and after 1 year, farmer removes and throws. Again, ask for subsidy from the government. So there are a lot of implementation problems in our system. So, but we have been implementing. We are looking. We are getting lot of technology from Israel. But our Indian institutes are also. We also have world class knowledge in agriculture, world class technologies in agriculture. But in our system, in Israel, there is something like a kibbutz, where there are cooperatives, But Indian farmer is very emotionally attached to the land, just like mother, we feel land is like my mother. So we want to retain that land, do agriculture in a small area. There are some advantages in that system also. And high-tech farming requires huge land, managerial skills. It's like a different model altogether.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes, please. Yeah. If the time is over, please tell, because I don't know the time and they are not informed. I was close. Yeah, this is the last question. Yes, please.
Just one question.
Yeah.
Speaking about the dairy farm, do you have some project in the manure management? That means to use the manure from cows from different purposes, like compost, like bedding recovery?
Yes. It's a very good question actually. Now, the science, people who have studied science and the practitioners and all. So there's now a lot of talk that Indian cow dung, cow urine is a very big answer for many of the agricultural problems. In fact, the same question I have asked when I visited NDRI Karnal, the National Dairy Research Institution. There are some published papers which say that Indian cow has got a different gut, different bacteria, and it definitely has some properties. In many institutes, the cow dung, cow urine were tested. It has lot of important useful bacteria which are useful for agriculture, and especially now the Andhra Pradesh government is implementing one natural farming project. They are implementing with 10,000 farmers. They want to expand it to 5 lakh people, 5 lakh farmers. Very recently they have requested Manage to study the results of this natural farming. So natural farming is no fertilizer, no external inputs. It's only cow dung, cow urine, and the fermented part. There are some concoctions which are made out of cow dung, cow urine. They say results are amazing, but we are yet to do evaluation. Some farmers are happy. But one thing, the published data is Indian cow compared to the improved cow, Holstein Friesian and all, the gut of Indian cow has got definitely some useful bacteria. That is a published, you can see NDRI published articles. Thank you.
If you could stay this afternoon at 4 o'clock, we could discuss about this topic. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the very good insight into the Manage, as well as it was really informative and encouraging, especially for the students out here. They could actually utilize the opportunity. And I would like to invite our next speaker. Okay, so I would like to ask Dr. Andrew Fleming, the Deputy High Commissioner, British High Commissioner's Office, and he's been well known in the known circles out here in Hyderabad for his contribution in Uganda as well as in Ghana areas as well. He's been into trade commission office, agricultural trade commissions. He's been a very known person, especially I was working with John previously, so been known a lot. And then I would like to invite him onto the stage and then speak about more into the technologies that the UK government or the UK companies are going to bring in for Indian environment. Thank you, sir.
Sabhaku, Namaskaram, respected dignitaries, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. Many thanks for inviting me to speak at the inaugural session of the 5th edition of Agritech's show. I'm delighted to be here today to speak on a sector of immense importance both to the UK and to Indian governments. Before I say much more, I should correct my friend that I've been accelerated in my title. I'm not a doctor. I am, however, the British Deputy High Commissioner, and I'm very newly arrived in India. I arrived just over a month ago, but it's been delightful since I've been here, and I've seen the huge potential this part of India has for agriculture, both in Telangana and in Andhra Pradesh states. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome the 13 UK companies who have travelled to Hyderabad to participate in Agritech's 217. The agritech sector in which Britain is recognised as a world leader. The delegation is diverse and comprises of innovative companies specialising in the areas of animal health and nutrition, animal genetics, water conservation technology, siloed storage systems, micronutrients for organic farming, agricultural marketing communications, sustainable packaging technologies, agri-skills and training, cold chain technologies, software enterprise platform, and precision agriculture. This is in fact the second time we've had a British Agritech delegation in Hyderabad in a very short space of time. The last occasion was November 2016, when 5 companies visited the India-UK Tech Summit, attended by our respective Prime Ministers. This was the first visit to India by Theresa May in her capacity as Prime Minister, and yes, you would be right to interpret it succeeded in sending a strong and clear signal of the importance of the British government's attach to the UK-India partnership. The UK-India partnership is already strong. From cricket to curry, the relationship is woven deeply into both our national identities. According to the Prime Minister Modi, India's engagement with the UK is an unbeatable combination. UK-India bilateral trade in goods and services during 2016 exceeded £16 billion. In terms of investment flows, the UK is the largest G20 foreign direct investment investor in India. More importantly, it is the largest job creator among all of the other partners, supporting close to 800,000 jobs. But it is far from a one-way thing. Indian inward investment to the UK is worth more than investment of the 27 other EU countries combined. And in terms of job creation, Indian companies have created over 100,000 jobs, making them the second largest job creator in the UK. The strength of this bilateral relationship is also evident from the fact that the UK has the largest diplomatic network in India, with deputy high commissions in 7 cities spread across the country. In the UK, India has 3 consulates outside of London. We are the 5th largest economy in the world and the 2nd fastest growing major economy in the world last year. We are ranked in the top 6 countries in the world as a place to do business. We have record employment, and the deficit has been cut by almost 2/3 since its peak in 2010. As a permanent member of the UN Security Council, NATO, the G7, the G20 and the Commonwealth, we continue to play a leading role globally. While our future relationship with the EU is still to be determined, we are not leaving Europe. Make no mistake, Britain will remain a close friend, ally and trading partner with our European neighbours. We are going forward with a new global approach for the UK, so we can be confident about the fundamental strengths of the UK economy and optimistic about the role we will forge for the UK, building on our strength as a great trading nation. Britain is open for business, committed to peace and security, and a leading supporter of the international rules-based system. So, why does agri-tech matter? Well, we can build the best cities with the smartest planning, but imagine a situation where we do not have enough food to feed the people living in these cities. A rising global population, the aspirations of developing countries, and growing geopolitical instability around land, water, and energy shortages will all serve to provide unprecedented challenges to the global food and agricultural systems over the next 20 years. The United Nations Food and Agriculture estimate that at current consumption levels, 60% more food will need to be produced globally by 2050. In this context, Prime Minister Modi is absolutely right in his setting an ambitious target of 2022 to double the agricultural production in India. But we cannot aim to increase yield or manage to produce without technological advances in the agri-food supply chain. As I have mentioned, the UK has one of the most highly regarded agricultural technology sectors in the world. We contributed to the agricultural revolution with many technologies, and these are now used across the world. Let me elaborate with some statistics that impress me and I hope will similarly impress you. The UK agri-food supply chain contributes around £106 billion, which is approximately 7% of the national gross value added and outperforms the industry in the EU as a whole. UK has 3 of the top 5 universities, over 100 science parks, 20% of our workforce are employed in 20% of our workforce are employed in scientific roles, and well-established research and development sites for multinational companies such as Syngenta, Zoetis and Bayer, and best and most complete data sets relevant to agriculture. The science, big data and technology change the face of agriculture, and global challenges to the food industry become more acute. The UK is now at the vanguard of agricultural technologies, pioneering new approaches to food and farming systems. I would like to share a number of examples of UK prowess in this field, no pun intended. UK played an integral part in the global eradication of cattle plague, also known as rinderpest disease. The world's first automated measurement device for monitoring pH levels and temperature in dairy herds has been developed in the UK. The world's first device to detect oestrus in real time has been developed in the UK. A web-based crop management system that helps to produce more by using less water has been developed in the UK. Through the development of semi-dwarfing gene, the UK has helped to increase world wheat production by £3.4 billion. Cereal production is central to food security both in India and in the UK, but yield increases have been supported by fertilizer inputs, particularly nitrogen, as well as phosphate and potash. The Cambridge India Network for Translational Research in Nitrogen will have an impact on the optimization of nitrogen use by cereal farmers in India and the UK. This project will not only improve the income and livelihood of many farmers by reducing input cost, but also it will save the environment by minimizing the negative impacts of excessive use of fertilizers. And I am delighted to tell you that one of the partners to this project are our friends from ICRISAT, who are present at this exhibition. The UK veterinary research base is one of the most efficient in the world, and Edinburgh in Scotland has the largest concentration of animal health researchers in Europe. And finally, Britain has been a world leader in cryogenics. Public and private investment into UK-based research and development of innovative clean coal technologies is well above £200 million over the last 10 years. And if you will indulge me to dig a little deeper into this example and what this might mean for India, only 4% of food here is currently moved through a cold chain compared to 70% in the UK. A consequence here is that for higher value horticulture, up to 40% of harvested produce is lost between farm and market. A tragic loss of food, but also a tragic loss of revenue, particularly for farmers. This cycle is repeated in many other countries, and the demand for cold storage transportation is growing exponentially. Yet, a second aspect of cooling storage is that its high energy usage and high level of pollution. I'm proud to say that Britain is at the forefront of developing clean cold technologies. My government recognises the environmental impact and the economic importance to countries like India and states like Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. We have funded research worth tens of millions of pounds and continue to invest in life-changing solutions. I could continue on and on, but I think probably it is better left to UK industry experts who have come here to do just that, and who will speak with far greater authority than I can on these subjects. We at the Deputy High Commission and Department for International Trade see ourselves as facilitators in bringing Indian and UK companies together on a common platform to share skills and experience and form mutually beneficial partnerships. I know companies on the UK delegation are keen to work with the local industry and governments, and I have no doubt you will take this opportunity to build mutually beneficial partnerships. I would request that dignitaries, delegates and friends from the media all take time out to visit the UK Pavilion located in this very hall, hall number 2, near the front door, and meet with our UK delegation. I trust that you will enjoy exploring the technology and innovation that the British delegates are bringing to this year's Agritech show, as well as the opportunity to establish long-lasting business relationships. I wish the 5th edition of Agritech's event to be a grand success. Thank you for your patient hearing and for inviting me today. Naku, mi undri, matena, vachi, matladetum, chala, santoshanga, undre. Dan ya vada mulu.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the wonderful speech and giving your insight into the British Commissioner's Office. And thanks for all the effort in bringing out the teams from Britain out here into Hyderabad to have a kind of a business meetings, as well as showcasing their products as well as technology for our farmers as well. And with this onset, I would like to invite our next speaker. Her name is Dr. Belinda Clark. She is the Director for Agritech East. It's an organization which is it's also a farmer-centric organization, filling in shoes for almost all the agencies around for the farmers' benefit. And prior to that, she was a lead technologist at Bioscience for Bioscience at Innovation UK, and she's very well known as a member of BBSRC Council and Trustee for Royal Norfolk Agriculture Association as well. And she also worked as an international trade advisor for biotechnology and pharmaceuticals for UK and Investment Group. And I would like to ask Dr. Belinda Clark to come over onto the dais and speak us and give us her insights into the topic as well. Thank you.
Good morning. If you will bear with me while I just try and find my presentation. Okay. I'd like to begin by thanking the organisers very much for this invitation to come to this conference and to speak to you this morning. It really is a great honour for me to have this opportunity to speak to you. I'm sure I won't be the only person at this conference to encourage us to remind ourselves that agriculture is the largest single employer in the world. Agriculture features in at least 7 of the Sustainable Development Goals, and achieving those goals relies very much on change in farming practice and agricultural innovation. Farmers have around 50 chances in their lives to get it right, particularly if they're growing annual crops on a seasonal basis. And what I'd like to do is talk to you about some of the activities that we and others have been doing to help maximise the chances of farmers getting it right. So I'd like to talk today about issues of communication, of trust, barriers and incentives to adoption of new technologies, and to share with you some of the things we've been doing to try and speed up that process. I'd like to start by looking back really about how innovation has been communicated, not just in agriculture, but across the board. So about 30 years ago, the emphasis, certainly in Western Europe, was on the public understanding of science. So the premise was that if only the public, a big homogeneous group, understood science and how beneficial it can be, they will have a huge appetite to understand, to explore and to adopt new science innovations. This led to the setting up in the UK of the Committee for the Public Understanding of Science, and that did quite a lot of work encouraging academics to talk to the public, which included farmers, about their science. Gradually, as the thinking became more sophisticated, there was an appreciation that instead of this so-called deficit model, whereby the expert was telling the non-expert about science, that there was actually some benefit in having a dialogue, and for there to be some discussions between experts, between trade and industry, between government, and between different stakeholder groups, including farmers. That led to this concept of knowledge transfer, transferring knowledge from one group to the other. And again, as thinking again became more sophisticated, moving on to this idea of knowledge exchange, the critical importance of the input of end users into the innovation process. It's not just those that are carrying out the innovation that have something to share, it's those who are the end users and those who actually need the innovation who can help reinforce and feed into the innovation process. And as we know, a lot of development funding and indeed research funding is now focusing on demonstrations of impact. And in order to do that, obviously, you need to have the end users to demonstrate adoption. And we heard from the Deputy High Commissioner some of the impacts of certainly UK research. There has also been changes in the model in the way innovation is managed. Traditionally, the innovation pipeline, certainly within businesses, has been a somewhat closed business. So the company would look at the science and technology base, locally, regionally or globally, and would undertake in-house R&D to launch new products and services into the market. Around 20 years ago, the pharmaceutical industry and others began to adopt a model of open innovation, and this was identified by Henry Chesbrough, the University of California, with the idea that this innovation pipeline is much more. And in the middle of this group of people is a young researcher who was doing some work on take-all disease of wheat. Take-all disease is caused by a root-dwelling fungus. It causes the ears of wheat to ripen prematurely. You can see the roots on the right are completely rotten. And also, this technician worked on black rot disease of brassicas, and it's caused by this orange bacterium, Xanthomonas campestris. So the eagle-eyed amongst you will hopefully have spotted that that technician was me in that group of people. And I was working very much on these crop diseases, and it was very noticeable to me that I had never seen any of these crops growing in the field. I'd also never spoken to any farmers about them. And even worse, I was starting to give talks telling farmers what their problems were. And some farmers very nicely came up to me afterwards and said, actually, that isn't really the problem is this. And that was quite a salutary lesson very early on in my career, that actually one needs to talk to the people who you think you're there to help. So following a degree and PhD, I then applied to the Nuffield Farming Scholarships Trust to be able to look at this communication between farmers and the scientists in more detail. And Nuffield is an international organisation that funds farmers to have some time out from their farm business to be able to look at examples of best practice, to understand new or different technologies or opportunities or business models. And at the time, Nuffield took quite a leap of faith in funding me, just a scientist, to go around the world and looking at communication between farmers and scientists and this idea of knowledge exchange. So my travels, among other places, took me to Kenya, and this is a picture of a farmer field school in Thika, which is just north of Nairobi. And these two ladies here are scientists from the Kenyan Agricultural Research Institute, and all the other ladies you see in that photograph are all farmers, and they farm bananas. And there was a big problem with virus infection in bananas. So the Kenyan Agricultural Research Institute developed a virus-free strain of banana using tissue culture technology. They gave the plantlets to the farmers, and every week these scientists go out and they talk to the farmers. What's their experience? How's it working? What's good? What's not good? What do we need to change? And these ladies here all have direct input into the innovation process. That seemed quite a good thing compared with my experience in the UK. So a lot of this thinking has crystallised into the founding of the organisation that I now run in 2014. We're an independent membership organisation. We don't receive government funding, and we're around facilitating innovation. And we're built around these three pillars of productivity, efficiency, and sustainability, which really applies not just to the farming and production, but also to the research. We want research to be productive and efficient and sustainable. And our thesis is that by bringing together farmers and scientists, that's the best way to achieve that. And we want to be a globally recognized catalyst for this open innovation and agri-entrepreneurship. So who are our members? So this is a very rudimentary value chain, and there's much that could be used to criticize this, so please bear with me, it's for schematic purposes only. Starting with discovery research, moving through the technology readiness spectrum to the producers and growers, processors, packaging, through to retail and consumer. If I just run the animation to see who our members are, we have a number of the major plant science research institutes, universities, we have Bayer, some multinational organisations, a whole raft of grower groups, managers of some of the major estates in the UK, farmer cooperative groups, breeding technologies, processes and packaging, and then a whole raft of the kind of people who are, these are the SMEs, and some of them are much bigger, Fujitsu for example, and ARM, who are developing technologies that will be beneficial, they hope and expect, to farmers. And then finally these funders, commercial services, training, that kind of glue that holds the ecosystem together. So when I was setting up Agritech East, there were a few key questions that I really needed to understand. If we were going to set yourself up as a catalyst for facilitating adoption of new technologies and this knowledge exchange, what are the barriers to adopting new things? And I've illustrated this with a slide of a gate, which is actually a farmer developed innovation. This is a solar-powered remote-controlled gate that was developed by a Norfolk farmer to keep his livestock in, and it's now being used all over the UK. So what are the barriers? Obviously economic. Very difficult for farmers to be able to calculate return on investment. A lot of these calculations are potentially quite expensive, and what is the timescale to potentially get the repayments? We've just had one of our members has invested $500,000 in controlled traffic farming, and he said in his first harvest he was 20% more efficient. So that's a pretty good indicator of efficiency. There's political barriers. There can be incentives for farmers to behave in a certain way, which if the incentives are not around a particular innovation or suitable for a particular innovation, there can be political barriers as well. There can be social barriers. External perception. Are you the kind of farmer that wants to have nice clean fields that his neighbour, or clean fields, not necessarily nice, that neighbours will look over the hedge and say, what a clean field that is? Or is biodiversity and a slightly more free-form farm something that you feel you want to manage? And then finally, what's the personal appetite for risk? Are you the kind of person that has the latest iPhone? Do you always want to have the new latest things? Or is your personal risk appetite a bit lower than that? And one of the things we found is that the catalyst for adoption and changing culture on farms tends to be a succession event between generations. So when the older generation passes the farm on to the next generation, that's when there tends to be the greater appetite for innovation. And we'd like to speed that up so it doesn't happen only every 30 or 40 years.